9 out of 10 kids that I were to work with or I have worked with, I have faced this problem where parents and students are at different wavelengths when it comes to career choices, college choices, life direction, etc., etc. And I personally like to value the child because I feel that it's the student that's going to university, that's going to pick up a career. I have been engaged by the parent, but to work for the student. So I always give the first right of thought of you point to the child and try and understand what the child really wants. And then in my own unique way, I try and maneuver the parent around. Sometimes we're able to reach 100%, which is like a bliss situation, 100% of what the student wants. Sometimes 90%, sometimes 80%, sometimes even 60%. As long as it's not 40-60 where I'm 60% in favor of the child and 40% in favor of the parent, I think I'm sorted.
Hi, Punnya. So it's really a pleasure to have you here in Honest Conversations in Parenting Unlimited. And I really look forward to a candid conversation today.
My pleasure, Kavitta. Thank you for having me today with you.
Great. So let's jump right in, Punnya. Tell me something about yourself as a child. What kind of a child were you? Were you naughty? Were you curious? Were you an active learner? What kind of a student were you?
Okay. So I think I had two very extreme sides to myself. I have always been naughty. I've been told by my parents that, I used to be a very naughty kid, throw a fit around when we would go for holidays. I remember my parents having told me that we'd gone once for a holiday and I'd broken some 50 odd glasses as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old child. And somebody came and said, "How did you break these glasses?" And I dropped the 51st one. And I said, "That's how I dropped my glasses." That's how I used to be. But I used to go for an art class. I still remember she's like a mentor. She honed the artistic skill in me. Not that I'm a great artist even as of today, but whatever 5-10% of art I do, it's because of her. And I had locked her in her own art studio when she was conducting that group class and all the kids, and she were like, they had to ring up my mom and say that, this is what your son did today. But on the other side, I was a very academic child. In all humility, if I can say, I had topped CBSE in Delhi in class 10. Okay. And I was second in India. Okay. And I had this very, very steady academic record all throughout high school. So I had those two contrasting sides to myself.
Nice. So what drove a child who was very good at academia himself to helping students in college or helping students as a mentor or helping students as a guide? What pulled you towards this career?
So a bunch of reasons, starting with the first one, similar sob story, when you feel that you've gone through something and you don't want anybody else to go through. So you'll end up following that as a mission in life.
Right.
So I had done my own applications as a high school student at some really top colleges. I'm not going to brand drop right now, but I'm sure I've discussed that with you.
Yes.
As so many good colleges offers I had gotten in. I had stellar grades, whether it was the SAT, whether it was high school. And I did not land up going overseas, even though I applied and had those great offers, because I lacked career guidance myself. I followed the herd mentality just because I topped CBSE. Everybody around me was like, you should take sciences, even though I was on the fence and I was almost taking commerce, but I landed up taking sciences. Got influenced, applied for chemical engineering, theoretical physics, applied physics. And then suddenly that, if I can use the cliche word, eureka moment came in, and I was like, I don't want to do anything to do with sciences. I want to do economics. And I gave up on all those offers to study at St. Stephen's in India, which luckily I was able to get in because I had the grades and I was able to pack the interview. And it was offering a great economics program. And when I joined college, that's when I realized that, oops, what did I do? When professors told me, everybody was narrating their story, why and how did they land up at Stephen's? And I said, perhaps I was not meant to be here. And that's when my professors told me that, you could have always changed your major and done economics at one of the top schools in the US where you got in. And that's when I resolved that, okay, what I went through, I don't want others to go through. That was one. Second, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I think an entrepreneur should always capitalize on their core skill and strength. And I knew that academia, working with students, guiding them, was my strength. So I first started off as an academic coach. I would tutor kids in almost every possible subject
Yeah.
that I knew or even I didn't know, but I could go back, study, and then replicate it to my students. And the idea was always that start off as an academic coach, but get on to uh, counseling, because that's what I really enjoyed. I loved working on my own college applications. I loved working on the essays, loved the research, and I thought that that's where I can probably create a slightly greater impact with students.
So this, thank you for being so candid. And I think this is a topic that is of great concern to me as a young student mentor also, that how often it is the popular choices that seem to be the obvious choices. And today, as the world is changing, the only thing certain is change, and careers are changing, and no longer are those standard filters in place. So tell me a little bit about your approach to advising students in this ever-changing scenario.
So I'm somebody who always advocates for change. I've lived in a changing world myself. I've defied stereotypes, whether it's the career that I followed, as you rightly said. It was absolutely unsexy to be a teacher, because teachers were always looked at, older in age relatively, having oiled hair and thick glasses and an uncool personality. Even though, I personally have been impacted immensely by some of the greatest mentors that I've had. When I say mentors, I'm talking about academic mentors here, who really helped me up my game in academia, which I could then use as a skill to impart to kids. But if I say whether I was enamored by their personality, I would say no. But I still went ahead and did it because I wanted to challenge the stereotype. I have always. And I think that's what I advise kids. I always am very, very open to exploration. I've encouraged students to pick up sometimes unconventional careers. I have a student that I've guided to become the first woman wine sommelier in the country. And when I was having an interaction with her, she was working as the head cabin crew at Kingfisher Airlines, and she lost her job for obvious reasons. And when I asked her, I said, "What do you like doing?" And she said, "I don't like to study at all, and I would love if somebody can pay me to drink." And then we figured this career, and there's no looking back. She's doing phenomenally well. I think she's tasted over 30,000 wines.
Yeah.
Even as of today, while I'm recording this podcast with you, she's in Billabong tasting wines. And so I think students should always be very, very open to exploring, because I think the cliche is going to go down, especially in this post-COVID world where a lot of things are going to be taken over by AI. It's that artistic element, that quirky element that's going to differentiate.
This is very interesting. So I mentor a student whose math grades are not the highest in class, but his interest in math is so deep and so rooted in his love for the subject that he's actually working on a passion project where he's creating vlogs on the history of math from when it was done with sticks and stones, and it combines with his interest of filmmaking. So he's shooting it, he's scripting it, he's researching it. At the same time, his math grades are not the strongest. So sometimes, like you said, you have to pick on that one unique thing that is standing out of a student's personality and then give them the confidence to go and explore that.
And just an FYI to everybody, I'm not saying that students should not practice mainstream careers. We need engineers, we need doctors. We can't do away without them. But we also need paths that have not been traversed yet. And
so I think if I hear you correctly, you're saying that if you have the interest, the capability and the want to follow the traditional careers, you'll still have to adapt because technology is here to stay. Like you said, AI is here to stay. It's never going to be the same again. But however, if you are not in those straight lines, then don't be afraid to explore. So, right?
Absolutely. So I would say have one career and then have multiple passions. And how spiritually there are life conditions. You can be in the highest life state and then you can be in the lowest life state. It's a free world. Keep toggling between various passions and make one of them as your career at different points.
Yeah. Right. So when we work with students, we also have to work with the parents.
And fortunately / unfortunately.
So as we work with parents now in this evolving landscape, At times, I'm going to dig a little deep on this. So let's look at a couple of scenarios. One, when the parent aspiration is not matching student capability.
Sure.
How do you handle that as a conversation?
It's a very, very common problem. 9 out of 10 kids that I were to work with or I have worked with, I have faced this problem where parents and students are at different wavelengths when it comes to career choices, college choices, life direction, etc., etc. And I personally like to value the child because I feel that it's the student that's going to university, that's going to pick up a career. I have been engaged by the parent, but to work for the student. So I always give the first right of thought, of view point to the child and try and understand what the child really wants. And then in my own unique way, I try and maneuver the parent around. Sometimes we're able to reach 100%, which is like a bliss situation, 100% of what the student wants. Sometimes 90%, sometimes 80%, sometimes even 60%. As long as it's not 40-60, where I'm 60% in favor of the child and 40% in favor of the parent, I think I'm sorted. Because also of the generation gap, and because if one just has to follow the parent, then why would they come to a college counselor? Right? If they're coming to a college counselor, that means they're seeking a third person's viewpoint who knows a little bit more about the world from the perspective of academia and careers, more than the child or the parent. I would like to be so. And then able to amicably reach a resolution, which is somewhere in the middle, but slightly more tilted towards the child.
Okay. So then I would say that I view mentors like myself or career counselors like yourself as that bridge between a parent and a student, where you often have to walk a tight line to align parental aspiration and expectation
Absolutely.
versus what student expectation or capability is.
Yes. I've also worked with students where I've had almost zilch interaction with parents. And I think those are the kids that have actually landed up doing the best in university, if I were to say. So often I tell parents that it's okay, take it easy, snooze off, let us handle, this whole relationship of navigating careers and colleges. And sometimes parents understand. They feel that if they are not involved in the process, then they are not good parents. So first, if I try and have that dialogue with the parents and tell them that, look, your child is being taken care of, that's why you've engaged us. Sometimes parents are receptive to that thought process and they let us do it. Let us take the lead. Sometimes the parent knows the child a little more or a little better than what we know because our relationship is slightly more nascent and it is in the process of solidification while the parent has been working with the child for so long, is privy to all the life states and qualities, etc., of the child. And then we try and engage the parent, to a fair deal, but we still tell them that at the end of the day, I'm not going to speak what you want me to speak. So at least I'm very honest as a college counselor like this, that you have engaged me not to as a messenger to communicate your message. I'm going to reason out logically. If I feel that the child, you are making a lot more sense and the child is feeling that sense of it, my entitlement that, okay, my parents are here to fund everything for me, so let me take it easy, let me not work it out, etc. Then I understand where the parent is coming from. And then I will be stern and strict with the child and be like, don't waste your parents' time and my time. But if you're engaging me just to drill the message in the child that you should do engineering, where the child, I feel, that has no aptitude or interest for engineering, then I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. The line I often use with parents is, look, we are all one team and we're all working collectively.
Absolutely.
But yes, there have been instances where I've had to sort of referee conversations in a meeting, or I've had parents call me on the A side and had an A side conversation.
Right.
And then, you just use your judgment to filter out what it is from that message that you're going to share with the student or how you're going to put it.
Very well said. Even I use almost the same terminology. We are all a tag team and the objective is the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. On this topic of parenting, I see around me that it's almost become an honor badge as to where your child is studying, what course they're studying. And so it drives a lot of anxiety amongst parents. What is your advice to parents when this anxiety or anxiousness starts passing to the students?
It's so funny. My daughter's about 16 months old. She was born in 23 November. And one of the messages from a well-wisher and a friend that came in, there was a gift and there was a card on it. It said, "Welcome Avira to this world." Her name is Avira.
Lovely.
And welcome to Harvard class of 2045. And I still have that saved with me. And I often share.
Please don't put it up in her
Yes.
room.
And I'm like, I don't want her to see this ever. Yeah. And that's why I've kept it with me.
Yeah.
That I don't want her to get this message because I want her to decide where she wants to go, etc.
Absolutely.
If
And
she
that
wants,
choice may be Harvard.
yeah, that choice may be Harvard. That choice could be the best dance school in the world. It could be it could be a great music school, or it could not even be the best college. It varies from child to child. Yes, if you have the potential, and say if today somebody wants to study computer science,
Absolutely.
the child is amazing in academics, has the aptitude, and then the student says, okay, I want to go to a university which is ranked 60th on QS World for computer science. While the student has everything in him or her to get into a top 10 QS,
Yes.
then it's worrisome for me. I would like to dig deeper and understand why is it that the child does not want to. And then I understand from the parent when the parent says that, I want my child to go in. Great if your child has the grades and maybe the child does not want to go to the top 10 QS because of the immense rigor. And maybe the student wants to parallelly learn jazz dance or tribal dance or some sort of music, which the child may not be able to do in a top 20 QS or top 10 QS ranked college. Then I'm going to discuss it with the parents. So here I'm not going to completely disagree with the parent. I would partly agree with the parent if the child is finding just an excuse to not work hard when the child has everything going to be able to get into that college. But when the child is going to be miserable in a certain institution, when the child doesn't have the aptitude and everybody's trying to push in there, get 10 counselors on the board, get everything outsourced, etc., just so that you can get your child into a college to wear that badge of honor that my child goes to XYZ university. I mean, great. Sooner or later, you'll realize because the child will, after a few months, crib. The child is not going to be happy. You're going to be losing your child's mental health. You're going to be losing potloads of money because the child will not be able to clear a certain module. Will have to repeat a module, may have to repeat a semester or a year, depending upon which country the child is studying in. You'll have to spend a lot more money on therapy and trying to get the child back on track. The child will be going through another stigma when the child is going to be transferring. So, in your endeavor to help your ego get that boost in a party, you're in fact having a child regress, really, which is going to backfire at some point.
So tell me what some tips and tricks that I understand parents get anxious. I think it's a part of parent.
Sure.
But how not to pass that anxiety on to your child? What can a parent do to avoid that?
So I think that at least as a college counselor, what I do is I never make the decision for the child. I share every possible fact about the university. All the counselors in my team and I, when we are meeting with students, we in fact do a proper cohesive SWOT analysis. Say a student has applied to 10 colleges, has gotten into 6. Out of those 6, we would pick the top 3 that we feel are the best.
Right.
And then we would put down 10 or 15 parameters. Location,
But I'm going to
proximity.
ask you to pause here. This is after they've got into the 10. In the process leading up to admission, what are things that parents can do to not pass their anxiety on?
I think it's important to share a few needs of institutions because you have to have a certain goal to be able to work towards that particular goal. But making that the focal point of your life is when things start going haywire. So, like for example, Kavitta, I'll tell you that, you should brush your teeth in the morning. It's a good tip that I'm giving you. But if I tell you, 100 times or 200 times today, Kavita, have you brushed your teeth? Have you brushed your teeth? You'll go crazy and, you'll be like, okay, to hell with it. I don't want to brush my teeth. Yeah, even though you know that it's important for you. So don't get obsessed with it. Share a few names, take the child for college tours, make them interact with students who are studying there, help them understand the load, academic load, help them understand also the kind of placements that students are getting. Maybe that becomes the enticing factor for the student, and the student automatically says, I want to go here because I want to work in Google or Microsoft or wherever.
Right.
And this particular university is a feeder for these companies. Right. So let me now do everything in my stride to go there. And not because I'm a college counselor, but I feel that every child should have a college counselor. So when you have a college counselor that the child is working with, the parent's role becomes slightly lesser, and that anxiety does not pass as much.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the life skills that a parent should definitely ensure that they start developing in their students if they are thinking of sending them to a college, whether overseas or in India, but living away from home.
Sure. So I would say first, learning to deal with failure. I think it's very, very important. When the child is staying with family, I'm talking about a student who's not studying, say, in a boarding school, it's lived with family, has had that sheltered upbringing. And when the child goes away to university in a different country, things are not going to fall the way you envision them to. You might fall sick just before an exam, and your mom or dad may not be there to give you medicines and sponges and give you home cooked meals every few minutes. It's just so that you feel good about it.
Correct.
Right? So you might not land up doing well in college. You may not be the most popular kid or as popular as you've been in school. You may not get into every club in society that you apply to because you're here. Your parent can't walk up to the university and say that, take my kid in, which in some schools, in some cities, the parents may have a certain influence on the kind of opportunities also that students get both inside a school and outside of school.
Correct.
So I think learning to deal with failure is very, very, very important. Second, integrity. Integrity, honesty, just being true to yourself and knowing where, dishonesty can sort of work against you, whether it's, knowing how to work on essays, use of AI, plagiarism, all of that. I think that's a very, very important skill. So I would say virtue of integrity and knowing to be always aligned with that virtue is a skill that kids should have.
Could not agree more.
And third, I would say just learn to have fun. Learn to deal with a little bit of criticism, a little bit of ridiculing in a healthy way, because I'm not somebody who will ever endorse bullying. I think it's the worst thing that a child can go through. And bullies should be very, very mindful of, hurting another child. But a little bit of subtle light humor just to break that ice within kids is important. And I think as family members, if we can learn to have a little bit of fun with each other and not always be serious, that can help the child break the ice with people out there, and it can become easier for the child and to make friends. Because often when I have students coming back from university after a semester or two who've not been able to settle down, they feel that they've not been able to make as many friends. And yet at the same time, they don't want to go to a college where there are too many Indians or too many of their friends, because somehow it has been drilled into them either by their own selves or by their parents that what is the difference then between school and college if you're going to be following your entire jingbang of friends wherever they are going. But at the same time, they don't have that skill sometimes to be able to make those new friendships. So learning to have a little bit of fun, tongue-in-cheek humor with each other, which helps break the ice with kids, I think is also very important.
Yeah. I think these are all life skills, honestly. In the world we're living today, I think what you just spoke about is learning to have fun. I would say be adaptable.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Be adaptable to a situation. Be adaptable to an opportunity. be adaptable to your relationships. I think that is one core thing needed because the world is so rapidly changing.
Absolutely.
And how do you also expect parents to guide children in a world that they are grappling to settle in with?
Sure.
Right? And you will see this as your child grows, that even though you're in the thick of young students, but possibly by the time she is even 5 years old, the ecosystem will evolve.
Right.
The environment will evolve. What is available in terms of accessibility will evolve.
Absolutely.
So I actually feel parents are doing a great job in this scenario at the moment because it's tough. It's tough for parents to learn to be adaptable, to then be able to teach this skill to their student.
Yeah. No, I could agree more. I can hats off to our parents who are grappling with all the adaptability changes, as you said,
Yeah.
yet learning from their kids, So they're learning
Yeah.
in every possible way. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So tell me about a situation where you have found a parent struggling with a child's decision. It could be not showing up for an exam, it could be bad grades, it could be confrontation with a school authority.
Sure.
And how have you helped a parent navigate that situation?
Okay. So I generally try and confine myself only to college and career choices because I feel that I'm not equipped enough to,
But
deal
the
with.
students are still in school
Yes.
while they are working with you
Yes.
because it's pre-college.
Absolutely. So I catch, signs where I feel that they may need an additional counselor or a therapist in addition to me because I'm not equipped to deal with, if they have anxiety, I can always do pep talks with them. I can share some quotes with them to make them feel better. But if they need greater therapy, then I'm not the right person to do it. So I always try and steer myself through the route of career and college.
Okay.
And basic gyan that I would give to any friend or anybody else to see if that works, for example, at times or not. And if it does not, then I am open with the parent on the side and I say that, look, you might, have to engage a therapist. And in my own way, try and get the student on the board as well to be receptive to
Right.
therapy. I remember a couple of months ago where I was working with a student, but she's joining NYU. She's been admitted into early decision this year. And my counselor, the immediate advisor for my team who was attached to her and myself, whenever we would meet her, we would always realize that, basic instructions would, she would find it very difficult to follow those very, very basic instructions, but her grades were absolutely top notch. So we realized that there's some deficiency in terms of organization skills. And I could see some signs of learning issues out there. And so could the immediate advice in my team working with her. And we had a dialogue with the mother. And the mother completely lost it. And she said, what are you trying to tell me? Does my child have a learning disability? How dare you say this and all that?
Yeah.
And even as of today, I feel that she has a learning issue. I am in touch with her school, career, and college counselor who knows that I was working with the child. And the school college counselor also says the same thing. And she would have still gotten into NYU where she's going. But probably her life condition at NYU would have been better because she would have got that extra learning support.
Right.
She would have had a coach she would have worked with on the side to work with. But I didn't feel bad about it because I said that I still did my job. I confronted the parent, and the parent was perhaps the time was not right. The parent was not ready, and maybe at some point they feel that they're more open about it, and the child becomes receptive to.
Punya, when I'm working with the younger students, as you know, I work with students between grade 7 to grade 10.
Sure.
And a lot of times, these early years, one is able to assess that, this could be a path that could be a cause of concern later for the student. But yes, it's a very difficult conversation to have with a parent.
Right.
I feel more so with an Indian parent because yet in our ecosystem, the fact that to accept that a child could have a learning challenge, child could have a situation where they need assistance or support, or a child could have a situation where some assessment needs to be done is still a very difficult concept.
Right.
On the other hand, I have to say that the receptiveness of some organizations and schools is becoming powerful enough to educate the parenting community.
Sure.
And the tabooness of that discussion, but I hear you.
Yeah.
It is always a
I understand.
difficult
Child is coming
conversation
from
to
a
have.
very, very as traditional a school as possible in Delhi, so it's
Yeah.
understandable. Right?
Yes, yes. No, but even from the most progressive schools, I feel that as mentors, guides, educators, counselors, it is always a difficult conversation to have. But I also think it's a very important conversation to have.
Sure.
And this could be one of the toughest areas that we grapple with. Yes. Right?
I think a lot of cases this child is ready, but the parents are not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a mindset shift that we need to hope. We need to hope that it happens sooner than later.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think collectively, in our own small ways, each one of us is sort of trying to do that.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about a student who is now in senior years of high school, is looking to study in a good institution, whether overseas or in India. What are some of the, let's say, the top 5 things, in your opinion, that a student must do to launch themselves in a successful path?
Okay. So first, I would say do a lot of exploration across various disciplines. Okay. Not so that you have an answer by the end of grade 12 as to what is that discipline that I want to do. Sometimes you may have an answer, and then you may want to go to a college which offers a very pointed degree around that major.
Okay.
And sometimes you're still not sure and you want to explore, dabble with different subjects and then choose a slightly more broad-based subject. But you will never know until you immerse yourself in that. So exploration is one.
Get your hands and minds dirty.
Second, have at least one mentor. In life, I think a mentor is somebody who's always rooting for you and wants you to surpass the mentor himself or herself, whether it's a spiritual mentor, whether it's a college counseling mentor, whether it's a life coach mentor, whether it's a music mentor, etc. Always have at least that one anchor. And I feel one anchor outside of the family. A lot of times I get these cliched responses: who's your mentor when you're working on essays? My father is my mentor, my mom is my mentor. Great. But I feel that having a mentor that you're not biologically connected with removes all sort of biases and you're able to move in a more focused manner going forward. So that's second. Third, do a lot of research and reading. Get your facts right. Read up as much as you can. Network with as many people as you can. So organize your facts together, make an informed choice. Okay. So that would be third. Fourth, I would say have fun. I can say for myself that I had a lot of fun when I was in school. There was not a single movie that I did not watch on the theaters, even during my exams, even during my board exams, etc. And now when I see kids, when they have an exam, they're locked up in their room. I understand the pressures many, many, many folds compared to what it used to be back then. The competition is way stiffer, but this time will never come back.
Correct.
Right. So don't lose your youth, because I feel that the experiences that you have, you are a function of the experiences that you've had.
Absolutely.
So don't give up on those.
Right.
Fourth, I would say be honest in whatever you're doing. Academics, I feel, is important. I am not of the opinion that one should not study at all, etc. And one should just focus on, okay, if you can't study, just focus on a creative activity or sports, etc. Give your best shot. If you've seen that, even after your best efforts, you've not been able to ace academics, etc. Great. There are so many other things that you can do. But don't pick up non-academic paths only because it may make you seem cooler. That, okay, it's okay. I'm in this world where I don't need to study. I can play golf 20 hours a day and just be okay. Yes, you may be the best golfer, but don't base that decision without having given your best in academics or various other activities.
Yeah.
So be honest to yourself and give your 100%, and then whatever outcome emerges. Fifth, I would say be open-minded and adaptable. Life is ever changing. What you think today, like for example, if I'm a student in grade 9 and I say, this is what I want to do, great, work towards that goal, but be flexible, be open-minded, because what you may envision 4 years down the line may not even happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember interacting with a client many, many years ago, and I said, "What do you want to do?" That person said, "I want to be a marketer because I have excellent communication skills. I can convince anybody within a few seconds, and I can sell anything to you any moment." And I told him that in 5 years down the line, this is one skill that you would certainly not need in order to sell a product. And that's what happened with the advent digital marketing, etc. You don't need to go door to door, person to person to sell.
Yeah.
You need to know your algorithm, digital marketing analytics, etc. So maybe I'm not connected still with this client, but I think that this particular person may not be pursuing marketing anymore because the way of doing marketing has absolutely changed. So be very, very open minded and flexible because you don't know what course the world and your life takes.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd say all of these things apply to parents as well, because they need to allow for children to immerse themselves in various things.
Right.
They need to, I think, set the ground rules for a child to be able to excel. They need to have, be open to having a mentor outside of their immediate biological circle.
Absolutely.
I think parents need to be encouraging about being a parent, right? Parenting also means setting down the rules. Parenting also means follow-ups. Parenting also means just because you have a mentor or you have an academic counselor or a career counselor or a college counselor, you cannot outsource parenting.
Very well said. Yes.
So I think that's also something that parents listening to this podcast need to remember, that all of these are resources to help your student excel, but they cannot take over your parenting or what is important to you as parents as life values to instill in your children, because these are different for every single individual.
Absolutely. Every family defines what the KRAs of that
Exactly.
particular parent are, and one should just be true to those
Yeah.
KRAs and not feel that they don't have a role to play because they can buy and outsource everything out there for their kid.
So even though Avira is very, very young, but tell me, as a parent, what would success seem like for your child or children that you're going to have in the future?
I would not like to define success for her. I can say for myself.
Okay,
You know what?
actually, very good. So tell me what success means to you. And as a parent, what is it that you would wish for your child?
So success for me means having an absolutely free-spirited mind. There's absolutely no baggage. Thanks to COVID today, I can work from any part of the world.
Yeah.
I can live life on my terms. Thanks, to the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. And just that whole, waking up, feeling so charged up because I love the work that I do.
Yeah.
And sleeping with absolutely no stress in mind because I feel that I've had a good day. I've done what I needed to do.
Right.
My conscience is clean. I've dealt with people well. I've wished well for them, for everybody. And so this whole cycle of having an absolutely clean, free, spirited mind, being aligned with the universe, which helps me bring out the best in me in every sphere, is successful.
Great. And as a parent, what would you wish for your child?
As a parent, I would wish for my child to embody the same free-spirited mind if she feels that that's her way of looking at success.
Very, very nicely put, because it's important you're putting in the personal perspective that a child will bring into this equation, right? Okay. Tell me, one must listen, one must read, and one must watch for students in this application cycle.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with must watch. I'm going to give a very non-mainstream, non-popular must watch. So I'm a big movie buff. I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago as well that even during growing up years and even as of today, I try to watch every possible movie. And, Kalhonah, who was completed 20 years this December 24. And I went and watched it again on the theater. I was one of the only 4 people sitting in that room who was watching it, but I went for it.
Yeah.
And I would say my must-watch recommendation for parents and kids would be Kalhonah Ho, because I feel that just the main message that comes in, live life to the fullest.
Yeah, seize the
Tomorrow
moment.
there may or may not be, and just the way how everybody's having fun and, family dynamics, relationships, etc. I would say that,
Okay.
that would be my must watch. Must read, I would say two. Oprah Winfrey's, what I know for sure, because I think the way she talks about resilience, gratitude, and all of these watches really connects with me.
Okay.
And I would also talk about Shiva's Trilogy by Amish Tripathi. I had the good fortune of completing all the free capsules last summer when I was traveling.
Okay.
And I was so hooked onto the book. And even though I'm not so religious, etc., but the way, they've Amish Tripathi talked about this whole personality of Shiva and, combined fiction with mythology, etc. I really loved reading it, and it helps you understand about, again, manifesting your truest potential, how Lord Shiva was able to do it.
Right.
So these would be my two must reads. And must listen. So again, I'm sorry if I'm being too spiritual at this point, but I would say must listen would be your own voice. So I practice yoga about 4 or 5 times a week, every morning for about 15-20 minutes. And I end my yoga asanas with Brahmari, which is, putting your fingers out into your ears and just creating that, that buzzing bee sound, and then ending with 3 chants of the Om. So just just connecting with your own self, and, it's like a determination that you're making to your own self.
Right.
And I think if each person, whatever, if you can just meditate for like even 15 seconds a day, in whichever way you can, meditation can be somebody, it can be listening to the music that they love. For somebody, it could be, doing a certain activity. For me, I think just listening to my own voice and reminding myself that I have the power in me is, works for me.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And, thank you for sharing that. I think because one of the things as parents, I feel we owe it to our children is to give them self-confidence. And this example that you gave of going inward and having the conviction to listen to your own voice ties in beautifully with that thought. Because when you are in alignment with your own self, then you are, and then you have the self-confidence, the self-belief to go after a path. It could be the common path. I'm drawing a full circle. We started our conversation by saying it could be the regular paths as we know them.
Right.
Or you could charter your own path, but have the conviction, the hard work.
Own that,
The earnestness to own that. So I think this has been insightful. And thank you so much. I really think you bring a lot to your students in terms of going a level deeper than just being a college academic counselor.
Sure.
So I'm sure the students working with you really enjoy the journey. And
It's
thank
a-
you for having this candid conversation.
Thank you so much. I loved every moment to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Punnya. Thank you.